am Catherine, a 30-year-old employee at a major life insurance company. I work in sales. My family consists of my husband, John, who is the same age as me. We were childhood friends. Our houses faced each other, so we always went to school and played together. We spent time together from preschool until the summer break of our first year of middle school. Back then, John was always a clumsy boy. He was part of a soccer team and had to go to school early every morning for practice, but he often forgot his lunchbox and homework. John's mother would ask me, "I'm sorry, but could you deliver my son's forgotten items?" Your mom really has a hard time, doesn't she? I was the one delivering John's forgotten items, but John never felt guilty. He would say, sorry, I just forgot because it's early in the morning. You really need to get it together." I scolded him many times, but he never improved. John's irresponsibility was in his nature. When we moved in our first year of middle school, everyone from his family came to see us off, but John overslept. He was fast asleep with his room locked. In the end, John and I parted ways without seeing each other. About 10 years later, we met again at an elementary school reunion. I was surprised to see John. As a child, he was unkempt with messy hair and careless attire. But now he was a handsome man wearing a sharp suit, his hair and beard well groomed. "Catherine, is that you? Do you remember me?" "Of course I remember you. How could I forget?" John had apparently spent his middle and high school years in our hometown, then moved to California for university. He told me that after graduation, he worked for the local ward office. I was really surprised at how much John had changed. At the drinking party, he was considerate of others, initiating orders, serving food for everyone. He took care of a drunken classmate, even going as far as buying them medicine. He was truly attentive. We reconnected, exchanged contact information with a few former classmates, and John was among them. After that, we went out a few times with friends, had meals, and our relationship with John was rekindled. After a while, we started going out for dinner or drinks after work, just the two of us. One day, about a year later, John told me he had broken up with his girlfriend at the time. I broke up with my girlfriend. Why? We had personality differences. There were some things I was unsure about from the start. On the way home that day, John said, "I think you're the one who understands me, Catherine. Would you consider dating me with marriage in mind? I think we can make it work." I brushed it off as drunken ramblings at the time, but later, John asked me for an answer to his confession. I was really surprised because I thought it was just drunken nonsense, and when I asked, "Was that not a joke?" I wouldn't joke about something like that. So I told him I needed some time to think, and decided to give him an answer later. I didn't have a boyfriend at the time, but if I were to date someone, I wanted it to be with the prospect of marriage. I figured that since John was a childhood friend who I knew all his strengths and weaknesses, and since I knew his family, we could make it work if we got married. So I agreed to date him. After we started dating, we immediately reported it to both our parents. When my parents saw John for the first time in a long time, they said, "I can't believe how grown up John is." John's parents said, "Catherine, you've become so beautiful," and welcomed me. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and we got married 2 years later. I was congratulated by everyone and told to be happy. I was truly a happy bride. Please continue to support me from now on. I will, and thank you in advance. However, my marriage life was at its happiest on that day. After getting married, I was shocked to discover John's lack of responsibility. Firstly, John didn't do any tidying up at all. He wouldn't clear the dishes after eating, and he would let the washing pile up. Not throwing trash into the trash can was a given, and of course, he didn't do any sorting at all. When I asked how he had lived alone, he said that his meals were either ready-made from convenience stores or supermarkets, or he ate out, so he didn't need to wash dishes. Furthermore, at the apartment he used to live in, it was okay to throw everything away as trash, except for recycle items like cans and bottles. Apparently, John had almost never sorted his trash. So I suggested, let's do it together, and try to teach John housework, but John said, I'm busy and the person who can do it should do it. He refused, so I prepared several trash cans to make it easier to throw away trash, and I posted a list of what can and cannot be thrown in each one. But he ignored this and tossed everything in the trash. No matter how much I warned him, he brushed it off as a hassle. Moreover, John had a hard time waking up and was always oversleeping. Apparently, his ex-girlfriend used to live in the same apartment, and he used to give her a spare key to wake him up. Every morning, I desperately tried to wake up John, saying, "Wake up, you're going to be late." But he would cover himself with the bed and refuse to get up, saying, "Just 5 more minutes." In the end, he'd wake up just in time to avoid being late and would complain, "Why didn't you wake me up? I tried to wake you up, but you didn't get up." So every day we started the morning on a bad note. We split our living expenses with John paying the rent and utilities, and me covering food and other social expenses. But John often forgot to deposit money into the account for the automatic deductions. Therefore, the deductions didn't happen on the due date, and our electricity or gas was shut off multiple times. All he had to do was look at the bills, but he managed his own mail, so I never saw them. I would notice when services were stopped, panic, and end up contacting the electric and gas companies to ask for their payment details and make the payments. How many times this happened, I wonder. Please do something about your carelessness. We can't get by like this. Every time I said this and got angry, John would snap back. "There's nothing I can do. You know I'm forgetful, so cover for me." And we would end up fighting. About 2 years after we got married, the apartment we were living in was decided to be demolished due to aging, and we had to find a new place to live. We couldn't find a suitable property easily, so we decided to build a brand new single-family home. However, I set one condition at the time. That was to put the house in my name and for me to take out the mortgage. Although John could probably take out a loan with his income, we couldn't risk him forgetting to make the mortgage payments. Thinking this, I offered to take out the mortgage myself. My annual income was about the same as John's, so there was no particular problem, and I passed the pre-screening. I'm forgetful, so it would be a problem if that happened. He agreed to me taking out the mortgage and building the house in my name. In exchange for me paying the mortgage, he would pay half of the food and social expenses I had been covering until then. And so we built a single-family home in the suburbs. The house had a large yard where we could keep a dog, which was his wish. And it had an open-style kitchen, which was what I wanted. I really liked the house, which was filled with our wishes. And so I started working hard to repay the mortgage. I worked late into the night every day, and my days were filled with walking around for business. I also wanted a child, so I had to save money to have a child. I was also saving while paying the mortgage and trying hard to save. But he was different. When I showed him the specific amount of money it would take to raise a child and proposed a future life plan, he said, "We can't predict the future, we should just wing it," and didn't listen to me. Furthermore, around this time, he started saying, "You're paying the mortgage and saving, so you must be fine, right? I don't need to contribute to living expenses, do I? I've been paying the food and social expenses that you pushed onto me because you took out the mortgage, but I don't need to, do I? I want to buy what I want and go out like when I was single," and he almost stopped contributing to living expenses. In the end, I had to pay the utilities as well, and he started using all his earnings for his own spending money. He bought an expensive golf set and a large SUV, even though he rarely drove. I asked him several times to stop wasting money, but he ignored me. With this kind of thing piling up, my love for him gradually cooled. But I didn't think it was enough to divorce him yet. One day, I received a call from a mutual friend. "Lately, I've been hearing that your husband has often been seen in the nightlife district, always with a young girl." The person who told me this seemed concerned, asking, "Is everything okay?" At first, I thought maybe it's just that my husband is taking a barmaid out. However, I was told they were seen walking together in the daylight during a holiday. When I expressed my disbelief, my friend sent a photo claiming it was proof. It was a photo from a neighborhood fall festival where her children were enjoying some foods from a stall. Surprisingly, in the background, he was seen having a beer with a strange woman, appearing rather intimate and happy. What the hell is this? Unbelievable! I felt as though I would black out. The day when my friend had taken her kids to the fall festival, John had said he was going out for a golf meeting. I've been working hard every day, even on holidays, but John hasn't been contributing to household expenses, spending his time off playing golf, and hanging out with friends. And now he's fooling around with other women. I was shocked. But when I thought about reality, I still couldn't bring myself to divorce him. At the end of that year, my cousin was coming from afar after a long time, so I went home alone. John said he was busy with work and didn't accompany me. By this time, I hardly made eye contact with John or spoke to him. We had a completely cold relationship. In fact, we had a big fight over living expenses again on Christmas. During the fight, he told me, "I should never have married you, you nagging woman," and threw a divorce paper with his signature at me. I was upset, but I had a good time at home over New Year's and returned home on the 3rd of January. But another incident happened. I was surprised as soon as I entered the door. There were women's bright red high heels in the entrance, which were not mine. I thought maybe there were guests and went into the living room, but no one was there. I thought it was strange, but I went to the bedroom to put my luggage. "Who are you?" I couldn't help but scream. There was a strange woman in pajamas lying in my bed. She woke up in response to my voice. "Huh? Who are you?" she said. "Who the hell are you? What are you doing here?" To my question, the woman glared back at me and said, "Who are you?" But then it hit me. This was the woman in the photo I had received from my friend. "This is my house, you know." "Huh? This is my John's house. Are you a thief?" she replied with such a preposterous claim. I was about to ask where my husband had gone when the bedroom door opened and my husband walked in. "Oh, why are you here?" He looked pale when he saw me, and I knew it. They were having an affair in this house. Out of pure disgust, I instinctively rejected my husband. "Who are you?" I asked John coldly. The woman began to question him, but I interrupted her. "This is my house, and this man is a stranger to me. You are neither my acquaintance nor anything, so please leave. I'll call the police for trespassing." I said this in a harsh tone and drove the woman away. "What are you talking about? The one who should leave is you. Besides, I just submitted the divorce papers to the city hall. This house will belong to my new wife here. It's a present from me, a token of my love." "Didn't you forget? What are you talking about? The divorce paper you gave me on Christmas, I haven't signed or stamped it. This is document forgery, a crime." "That's an exaggeration to call it a crime." "Well, I was going to submit the divorce papers you gave me on Christmas after the New Year. I wanted to talk about things like property division, but since you already submitted them, I guess we're strangers now. Please leave." I had consulted everyone about John's behavior when I went home at the end of the year, and of course everyone told me to break up with him as soon as possible. Their words pushed me to decide to submit the divorce papers. I was planning to hire a lawyer after New Year's to discuss things like property division and have John leave once everything was settled. However, seeing this scene of infidelity changed everything. I just couldn't stop sighing at the unbelievable situation. Did you also forget that I took out the loan and built this house in my name because it would be a problem if you forgot to pay the mortgage? Shall I show you the property registry? I had forgotten. Although I had suspected from his comments that John had been lying about owning the house, I was at a loss for words at his forgetfulness about it being in my name. "Wait, didn't you tell me that this house was in your name? And you said you were single. What do you mean you have a wife?" The woman who had changed her clothes in the meantime confronted him. Apparently, he had lied to her that he was single and that the house was in his name. "Well, Dad, I just accidentally forgot." "There's no way you can accidentally forget something like that. What are you going to do about this? I never intended to have an affair." I'm sorry, I just wanted to show off." "If saying sorry would settle everything, we wouldn't need the police. I'm breaking up with you today. I hate liars." With that, she turned her back on him. She then turned to me and said, "I truly apologize for this. I had no idea there was a wife. Even though I was ignorant, I made a terrible mistake. I will definitely take responsibility for this. I really am sorry." She was completely different from before, bowing her head deeply to me and handing me her business card. I suppose it's not surprising to be shocked when your boyfriend, who you thought was single, has a wife coming home. I will contact you again later. With that, I sent her home. "I truly am sorry. It was just a momentary lapse." "Do you think such an excuse would work? You've always been forgetful and I've been covering for you. But you constantly caused me trouble and finally betrayed me. I've had enough." John was terrified of the scariest look I had ever given him, clinging to my feet and prostrating himself in apology. As she said earlier, if saying sorry were enough, we wouldn't need the police. I don't need a careless man like you in my life anymore. You probably showed me the divorce papers because you wanted to divorce me, right? That's not it. I thought if I showed you the divorce papers, you would stop nagging me. I thought you wouldn't want to be divorced by me. But you never improved, so I went ahead with it. It's your fault. At John's condescending remark, I finally lost my patience. Don't be ridiculous. Divorce papers are not something to be used as a threat. And I'm sick of taking care of a slob like you. If you understand, get out right now. But I don't want to. That would be a problem. I don't care about your circumstances. Please leave quickly. That would be a problem. Can't we start over? Please reconsider. I ignored John's desperate pleas and forcibly drove him out from the front door. For a while, he cried out, begging, "Please open the door," but eventually he disappeared. Afterward, he apparently went back to his parents' home. But since I had reported our divorce to his parents before him, they knew the reason for our divorce and didn't let him into the house at all. I heard from his parents that they disowned him, saying, "A sloppy man like you is no longer our son." And the woman he cheated with immediately brought cash, saying, "This is for the money to apologize." It seems she was a junior at his workplace and had just been transferred to the same department due to a personnel change. I heard from a rumor that after paying me the property division, John quit his job. The woman consulted with her boss about the matter. It became known around the office, and he, feeling uncomfortable, resigned and moved to a distant town. As for me, I put the house, which holds unpleasant memories, on the market and rented an apartment near my workplace. I just couldn't stand living in a house that my husband and his mistress had used. Thankfully, the house sold for more than I bought it for, and I was able to pay off the loan in a lump sum. Now, I'm enjoying living alone in my new apartment, having fulfilling days with my work and interactions with my friends. I intend to continue cherishing these peaceful days in the future.